Hello and welcome to the Teacher Think-Aloud podcast, a podcast for reflective practice for teachers of English around the world. I'm your co-host Donna.
And I'm Shey. And today we're diving into a topic we've been ruminating on for quite a while.
Ruminating. I love that word. So
It's a good
pastoral.
Pastoral, yes. We are out to pasture today, diving into the topic of professional development in the post-pandemic world. We're looking back on the past few years and how the emergence of a global pandemic challenged our notion of what PD is and forced us to get creative in accessing and sustaining meaningful professional learning. And now that we've gotten to the other side, we're reflecting on the experience.
Listeners, if you happened to be with us at TESOL earlier this year, you know where we're going with this. Shey and I actually did a presentation about this topic.
Right. And during the session and afterward, we had a chance to check in with some of our colleagues and understand what impact the pandemic had on their professional learning. And there was a consensus on the pandemic truly turned our world upside down, including the way we approach professional development.
That's right. We can't speak for everyone, but through our ruminations and conversations, we sketched out a pandemic journey that may strike a chord for many educators. Starting at the beginning.
Picture this. It's March 2020.
Stressful times.
Your school just switched to virtual learning. Everyone is at home, glued to the news, trying to keep it together for their students and families. Panic was the prevailing sentiment I remember from this time. We were asking ourselves, what the heck is online learning? It was a steep learning curve for many of us as we quickly adapted our teaching methods to a new virtual landscape.
Gosh, remember that? It was
I try not to.
challenging to say the least. I remember throwing together lesson plans haphazardly, just trying to stay afloat. But we really adapted quite quickly, I think. We quickly started learning about online learning. We sought out resources, attended webinars, and connected with fellow educators to share best practices. The urgency of learning new skills and strategies for online teaching pushed us to form support networks and engage in new forms of professional learning in virtual spaces.
And as the 2020-2021 school year rolled around, we were still panicking, but a bit more confident in our skills, right? We found our online communities of practice and relied on them for support and collaboration. It was a time of collective growth and resilience.
Then, in 2021, some of us gradually returned to the physical classroom. And we faced a new challenge: how to teach in person again while integrating the lessons learned from the online environment. It was a period of adaptation and finding the right balance.
And finally, in 2022, we started to see the light at the end of the tunnel. It depended, of course, on where each of us was, but for the most part, we were back, baby. It wasn't just like going back to business as usual, though. What became abundantly clear is that online forms of support served as a bridge for educators in a challenging moment. But beyond that, they were here to stay, right?
Absolutely. The face of professional development underwent dramatic changes during the pandemic. We were forced to embrace technology and explore new avenues for learning and collaboration.
And now, in the post-pandemic era, we have an opportunity to make technology work for us in the new professional development landscape, right? I know it's tempting to revert back to pre-pandemic practices, right? Those old school forms of professional development that feel more comfortable, feel more natural, but it would be counterproductive for us to disregard the technological advancements and skills that we fought hard to acquire during that time, right?
Yes, Shey, there are just so many advantages to technology for professional development. For one, there's no commute necessary.
No pants necessary.
Right.
No,
Yeah.
sorry. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, that's one point. Yeah. We can access PD offerings from anywhere, from our couch, from our pajamas, expanding our opportunities for growth beyond our immediate context.
Yes, yes. And that's what our new friend from TESOL said. Let's meet Rosemary and hear her reflections on how her approach to PD shifted during the pandemic.
My name is Rosemary Colon, she, her, and I teach at the university level, so higher ed. I work with international students coming here to study and get their degrees in the United States. I think there's been more access, right? Because things are online. I know people have probably gotten just being on a screen for too long overload, but also there is access. So if you can't fly halfway across the world to attend something like this, having that option, I think, the world is a little bit bigger, right? I mean, even while we're all stuck inside during the pandemic, we did have these windows into seeing what people are doing in other places and learning from other people. So I choose a glass half full mentality, even like we're all like dealing with all these different challenges throughout that.
Rosemary's so positive. I think a lot of others embrace their more optimistic side. Carrie, another new friend of the podcast from TESOL, shares a bit about her experience.
My name is Carrie McKinnon, and my pronouns are she, her. I am a co-founder of the International Language Coaching Association. So experience with professional development, how has that evolved since the start of the pandemic? Well, we launched ILCA in 2019. I mean, we were literally in our first round, our first cohort of like live sessions when the pandemic hit and went into lockdown. Like the whole world went into lockdown. And the really intense and beautiful thing about that was that we had people from all over the world, from Japan, from Italy. There were some people from South America. There was people from Canada. My co-founder, Gabriela Kovacs, was in Hungary. I was sitting in the United States. And that was really an intense and beautiful situation to be in, with a lot of responsibility suddenly, right? To like continue to do this thing that people had paid to come to and signed up for and were very excited about, but also to hold space for them and to hold space for all of us with a global pandemic that like nobody saw coming. So yeah, we've always been an online company. So and on another hand, we were kind of like, it didn't really impact us a lot. One of the things that has impacted us are these trends in people's engagement with the virtual modality. Like this presentation I just watched from you guys made me think about that a lot. There were these rushes of people showing up to the webinars and for training, and then there'd be these huge dips, when the lockdowns would release and people would want to rejoin the world and things like that, right? And then we'd get everybody in again. So it's really come and gone in waves. And if anything, I feel like now we're in a situation where people are getting much more used to professional development post-pandemic, if you will, and they are showing up regularly, the people that want to be there then. And for us, we have created an online community of over 100 educators from all over the world. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
I love that answer.
Yeah, one of the other things I'll say that's been really cool that's kind of pandemic related or online related or whatever it is, especially that your workshop made me think about, is the fact that when we get everybody in our Zoom room, our favorite ritual to do, and this did start during the pandemic, for different reasons, we have everybody drop in where they're from. And those are the most beautiful moments for us because we are truly in touch with a global community and we get to see that in all the countries coming in and we read it out. And it's something that connects us all.
I love that Carrie, like Rosemary, highlighted the increased accessibility of PD. We can also grow our professional network beyond our immediate circles, connecting with educators worldwide. I mean, Anna, you've made some really great contacts on the Twitterverse, right?
Yes. Teacher Twitter as a learning community is a great example of what we mean when we say we need to rethink our approach to PD. Mm-hmm. I've connected with brilliant teachers from all over the place, and that's something I really adopted during the pandemic. It's pretty cool. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the expansiveness of online networks allows for people to take advantage of niche offerings. With online platforms, we have access to specialized topics and experts that may not have been available for us locally.
Let's hear what our friend Alex has to say about this.
My name is Alexander Ting. You can call me Alex. My pronouns are he, him. I was a prior instructor of adult English learners at Seattle Central College and Highline College, but I'm at the University of Hawaii at Manoa now doing doctoral studies. My PhD program is in East Asian languages and literature, specializing in Chinese linguistics, but TESOL is where I started and is very near and dear to my heart. I was an adjunct instructor of English at Seattle Central College. And I saw that after graduating from my MA TESOL degree in 2019, there isn't a lot of PD for community college instructors in Washington State. So I tried to get involved with a lot more PD since the pandemic. And my mentor, Eileen Sun, who is a past TESOL president, kind of took me under her wing because she was the faculty development coordinator. And I just got a lot more involved with PD in regards to with WASL because I was serving on the WASL board. And I wanted to network and get to know more people just to see what my interest would be in TESOL. So I've been attending a lot of webinars. You know, I kind of like that type of person who's like, oh, I registered for this webinar. And I forgot to put it in my personal calendar. And then I look back like, oh, wasn't there this webinar? And I was like, oh, crap. It happened. I hope there's a recording. And now, even though the recording's there, I'm like, I don't watch it either. So too much, yeah. So I need to give myself a little grace. But, you know, I intentionally go to see like more multilingual education webinars as part of my PD because that's what I'm interested in.
Oh, I forgot about so many of the free webinars I signed up for and didn't attend. Guilty. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think we've all done that, but I appreciate Alex's honesty.
Yes.
And he really gets to the heart of one of the greatest challenges. Teachers might have felt overwhelmed by all of the opportunities that emerged from the shift to online PD.
Anna, you and I have talked about how we tried to take advantage of everything we could and then felt overwhelmed, right? We did that to ourselves.
Yeah.
So we need to be more like Alex and give ourselves some grace.
Absolutely, Shey. And giving ourselves grace sometimes means that we do less. The flexibility of online PD allows us to get involved as much or as little as we desire. We can choose micro PD options that suit our needs and time constraints. Right? It's about finding the right balance and making conscious choices.
And on that note of transformative professional development, we have another reflection that we're really eager to share with you from our friend, Shey McKay.
Hello, my name is Shey McKay. My pronouns are she, her, and I live in the United States. As for where I am on my professional development journey, I still teach adults with refugee backgrounds, but I've shifted my focus more to teacher training. I seek out professional development that gives me more strategies and techniques to support teachers' well-being. Before the pandemic, my focus was on student well-being, and since the pandemic started, it's shifted to teacher well-being, because teacher well-being not only supports the teachers themselves, but supports their students. With my initiative, Transformational Learning Communities, I plan to continue offering workshops and courses that provide teachers with the knowledge about trauma and how it impacts their learners, and the self-awareness and tools to mitigate burnout and compassion fatigue, and the strategies and principles to create a trauma-sensitive learning environment that includes integrating mindfulness in the classroom.
It's interesting that Shey mentioned her shift to focusing on teacher well-being. Shey, you and I got really interested in trauma-sensitive teaching during the pandemic as well.
Yeah, we had a lot of great conversations around that.
Yeah, and also this teacher well-being component really took off during the pandemic. Another example of how niche, personalized PD sprang up.
Yeah. So, Anna, one of the ideas that has come up in our exploration of post-pandemic PD is this hybridity. And how, since it's increased with the pandemic, we can really take advantage. But we've also presented the other side. There is potential for overwhelm with all of these new opportunities, right?
Right. And it's really hard to find a balance between the excitement of all these formats and our own bandwidths. But you had found a really good framework for thinking about incorporating tech into RPD, right, Shey?
Yeah, that's right. And we won't get into it too much, listeners, because we all know what it's like when someone tries to explain a visual representation on a podcast.
Yeah, not the best strategy.
No, definitely not. But we want to at least flag Dr. Ruben Puentedura's SAMR model.
Right. SAMR.
And this model provides a framework for teachers to integrate technology into instruction effectively and in a sustainable way.
Exactly. The SAMR model aligns with Bloom's revised taxonomy, which many of us are familiar with. The goal is to construct a simple SAMR ladder coupled with Bloom's taxonomy, where tasks move from lower to upper levels of both frameworks.
The lower levels of SAMR are S, substitution, and A, augmentation. And these correspond to the lower levels of Bloom's taxonomy, including remembering, understanding, and applying. On the other hand, the higher levels of SAMR, modification and redefinition, align with the upper levels of Bloom's taxonomy, such as analyzing, evaluating, and creating. Each level represents a different way that technology can support learning.
For substitution, for example, you might attend a Zoom workshop instead of an in-person workshop.
Right. At this sort of entry level, you're merely replacing the activity that was previously taking place in the analog world to a digital version.
And at the next level, augmentation, you're looking to improve or augment the activity by bringing in some element of tech.
So you might think of how apps for conferences now offer some sort of networking feature. That might be the only change, but it has improved the activity or the tool to facilitate the activity with technology.
And moving up the ladder, modification asks for a larger change to the in-person activity, like a hybrid conference. There's a greater restructuring taking place, significantly altering the original in-person conference and likely making for a better attendee experience, or at least widened audience reach.
And at the top of the ladder, redefinition, where an activity is uniquely made possible by new tech. An example of this would be a self-paced PD course, social media as a PLN, or even new formats of micro PD. Like a podcast.
Subtle, Shey.
Yeah.
So, yes, listeners, please check out the show notes to refer to Puentedura's framework. We hope you'll appreciate it as much as we do.
And we should say, while we believe technology is an essential piece of the puzzle, the most important part is us, the teachers. We are only successful when we take the time to pause, reflect on ourselves, and understand our current state and needs in terms of professional development.
It's essential to have that self-awareness and be intentional in our PD endeavors. And actually, we have a tool for that.
Ta-da!
We've created a short questionnaire you can take to help guide you in reflecting and defining your own PD strategy. Check it out in our show notes.
Please do. Who doesn't love a free tool for reflection?
I know I do.
Listeners, if we pause for a moment to reflect, we observe rather easily how the forms of online teacher development have emerged from the pandemic and continue to support us now. They're not fading away, but rather coexisting with more traditional analog forms of PD. So we need to reframe our thought process. Instead of thinking, I have to, let's embrace the mindset of, I get to. Yes.
And in that vein, our friend Anna Airapetyan shared her reflections on what she learned from the pandemic.
So my name is Anna Airapetyan. I come from Armenia. I teach university students. I work at 2 universities in Armenia, and my students are quite good. They have advanced level, I can say. To be honest, this period with pandemic was quite stressful because we were not prepared for that. We teachers, so it was quite challenging to spend the whole day sitting in front of the computer, not seeing your students in real, but I think it was a good experience for any, like for all of us, because we grew a lot, me personally, because I learned a lot of new things like that I can use with my students, digital tools, a lot of websites, a lot of perfect tools, digital tools that I can implement in my classroom. So this is, I considered it to be professional development for myself. Yeah. And so whatever I learned during this pandemic, so I still continue using it. Yeah, maybe not so intensively as before, but it's knowledge that is with me, and I'm going to use it.
Anna-Jan, thank you so
We have the opportunity to continue with some of the forced habits that came about during the pandemic, leveraging online offerings to enhance our engagement in PD.
So teachers, we want to hear from you. How has your approach to PD evolved since the pandemic? What forced habits have altered your PD for the better? What ideas in this podcast episode resonated most with your experience?
You can join the conversation on social media or email us at teacherthinkaloud@gmail.com.
Thank you all for tuning in today. We hope this discussion on professional development in the post-pandemic world has given you some valuable insights and ideas.
Until next time, friends, happy teaching
and happy reflecting.